This was my recent experience of buying a property in California, so if you're from another state, some things might be slightly different. This video will cover a high-level overview of the home buying process and is part of my first-time home buyer video series where I cover lessons learned and things you can do to prepare as a first-time home buyer. These videos will help you save more money, get a good rate, and then have a much less stressful buying experience. Disclaimer, I'm not a real estate agent or a financial advisor, so take this video as entertainment only. I'm just a random dude who recently bought a property, and I'm making these videos to help other first-time home buyers to be more prepared. This video is a high-level overview of the home buying process so that you can get a big picture. However, I'm actually going to be making detailed videos of each step with specific questions and strategies so that you can be prepared each step of the way. Let me know down in the comments below if you're planning on buying within the next 12 months or within the next 5 years. It's never too early to prepare. Hey everyone, what's going on? If you're new here, I'm Davis and welcome to my channel. First step in the home buying process, after you decide that you're going to buy and you have a down payment, is to find an agent. Technically, you can use the listing agent from the Zillow, Redfin, or Realtor listing. However, I highly recommend that you find your own agent that you can actually trust. Having your own agent that's not the listing agent will allow you to better strategize, look at multiple properties, and then also have an unbiased party to help you negotiate for repairs and other contingencies. If you're using the listing agent from the online posting, then that same agent is going to be negotiating for both the seller side and the buyer side. There are probably laws in place to protect all parties, however, that just seems like an obvious conflict of interest. There may be benefits of having the seller agent and the buyer agent be the same person, however, I haven't looked into that option yet. Let me know down in the comments below if there is a benefit. Once you find your agent, then they can help you better understand the home buying process in detail, help you learn your market, and then help you set your buying criteria. I'm going to make a video on how you should find your agent, and then the best question you should definitely ask. So subscribe so you don't miss out on that video. Once you find an agent, you probably want to start looking at houses immediately. However, since the market's so competitive right now, agents won't do any showings unless you're pre-approved. By becoming pre-approved, it shows that you're more serious of a home buyer and you're not just window shopping. In order to get pre-approved, first you need to find a loan officer. And at this stage, you probably want to move very quickly. So I highly recommend you to work with a smaller mortgage company as compared to a big bank, because big banks will just move a lot slower. The really important thing to keep in mind is just because you're getting pre-approved through this loan officer does not mean you're obligated to stay with them throughout the duration of the buying process and the closing process. You can still switch loan officers once your offer is accepted. This pre-approval process is just to show how much house you can qualify for, given your income, credit history, and then your basic financial information. So now that you have an agent and you're pre-approved, you can now go and look at houses. But first, if you're watching this video in mid-2020, you have to sign a pandemic liability waiver form, which basically says you're going to wear a mask, wash your hands, and you won't touch too many things while you're visiting the house. To set up the showings, you'll coordinate with your real estate agent a specific time and date. Since most real estate markets are very competitive, the earlier you set up the showing, the better. You probably have work and other responsibilities, but if you hesitate and wait, then you might miss out on a property. Ask your agent what your market is like and how fast you have to move. For example, in my market in San Diego, if you hesitate and wait just one day, there will already be multiple showings and offers on a property. Alright, let's pretend you visited a few properties and then you found the one. The next step is to tell your agent to put in an offer to the seller agent. Here, you'll sign an offer sheet with the details of the property and your initial offer. Now it's just a waiting game and then the agony of waiting to hear back from the other side. For my property, I put in an offer on Monday morning and I didn't hear back until Monday evening. If your market is very competitive, then it's likely that your first offer is just going to be your initial bid. Next, either one of three things are going to happen. One, you're going to get ghosted. Two, you're going to be asked to put in another offer. Or the third thing that happened to me was to put in my best and final offer. If you're going to be putting in another offer, you're going to be signing a super similar document as your initial bid, just with an updated price. The next step in the home buying process is the offer acceptance. Alright, let's imagine your second offer was accepted. You're now in the process of what's called escrow. What happens here is the seller will sign the offer acceptance, and then your agent will tell you that you are now in escrow. The final stretch of the home buying process is called the escrow process. Escrow is all the steps in between the moment the seller accepts your offer and then the moment that you take ownership of the house. For me, this is the longest part of the home buying process. The average escrow time is between 30 to 40 days, but it really depends on your agent, the seller's agent, your loan officer, and then the escrow officer. From my experience, there are 3 different stages to the escrow process. The first stage is the first week of escrow, which feels the most chaotic and stressful. Compared to the first stage, the second stage is much more chill because you're going to have a lot of downtime because you're just going to be waiting on other people taking action. The third and last part of escrow is the closing part. The first stage of escrow consists of the initial deposit, the general inspection, and then the appraisal. This stage in the home buying process, you should already know who your loan officer is, and then you should also have a list of home insurance agents so you can call and get multiple quotes. First stage of escrow begins with the initial deposit, better known as the earnest money deposit. This deposit signals to the seller that you are serious and also protects the seller if you bail out in the middle of the transaction. The initial deposit ranges between 1 and 2% of the purchase price and goes directly towards your down payment money. Generally, the buyer has 17 days to walk away from the transaction and still get their earnest money deposit back. Please check with your agent for more specifics depending on which state you're in. The next item on the list for me was the home inspection. For this part, you have to find a home inspection company to go and do a home inspection for you. This typically ranges between $300 and $400. I found my home inspection company through a referral from my agent. The home inspector came and inspected the water, the electrical, small appliances, and all the other parts of the house that you generally wouldn't look at as a home buyer. Once a home inspection is complete, you'll get a 15-plus page document from the home inspection company highlighting various repairs and other things that they suggest for you to look into. Looking at a home inspection report as a first-time homebuyer can be very intimidating. It can seem like there's a million things wrong, but consult with your agent to see what are minor repairs and what are major repairs. If you want a video on the top things that you should definitely check for in a general home inspection and the 2 things that I wish I checked for during my inspection, then subscribe so you don't miss out on that video. Around the same time that general inspection is going to be happening, the next step is going to be the appraisal process. The appraisal process typically costs between $400 and $600. The appraisal is when the lender sends an official appraiser to come visit your house to give a fair market value on the property. The second stage of escrow for me was just a waiting game. After the first week, there was a lot of downtime, but it could be totally different for you. At this stage, there was negotiations for any kind of repairs, and then I was mostly working with my loan officer to verify my financial information and then my workplace history. If you're buying an older property, there might be a huge list of things to repair, so there'll be a lot of back and forth. So your second stage could take much longer. Or if you're buying a newly renovated place or a newer home, then there might not be that many repairs. For my property, the seller actually did a lot of renovations and repairs just a few months before they listed the property. So after we went through inspections, there wasn't that much to repair. I make a video on documents that you should prepare for your closing process so that's much less stressful. By preparing these documents, you'll have much less back and forth between you and the loan officer, so subscribe so you don't miss out on that video. The third and final stage of the escrow process happens in the last few days and happens very quickly. If you made it this far in this video, give yourself a thumbs up, as it'll help me out by telling YouTube to share this video out to more people. The final stage consists of the final walkthrough and final inspection to verify any kind of repairs, locking in your rate, and then finalizing your loan. And the very last steps for you during the escrow process is sending the final wire, signing the closing documents, signing the escrow documents, close of escrow, the title transfer, and then finally you get the keys. During escrow, I was basically waiting around for the middle 2 weeks, and then in the last week, things really picked up. At this stage, when you're working with your loan officer, they'll tell you that you're clear to close and that the lender's ready to fund your purchase. From here, you'll review something called the closing disclosure, which contains the final loan estimate. This document will show you exactly how much money you're borrowing, what your rate is, and then any kind of loan fees. This document will also show you the exact amount of money that you'll need to wire for your closing fees, escrow fees, and then loan fees. Once a closing disclosure is signed, then you'll likely be coordinating with your escrow company for the final wire instructions. You'll also be coordinating with your escrow company to deal with the notary person so that you can sign the final closing documents. The final closing documents consist of 90% of what you've already seen before, except the only difference is there's a notary sitting there watching you sign the documents. This process took between 30 and 40 minutes, but it could take you longer if you have additional questions. And when you're done signing the closing documents, the next step is to send the final wire transfer. This part is the most nerve-wracking because you're probably sending more than $10,000 over a wire, and then you'll probably have to wait a few hours for it to process. For me, I sent my wire out around 6 p.m. and I had to wait almost an entire day for my wire to be transferred. Once the escrow company has verified that they have received your wire, then your agent's going to work with them to close escrow and then work on the title transfer. After this step, your agent should know the exact date of close and then when you should get the keys. Congratulations, because if you made it this far in this step, that means you're now a homeowner. Waiting for a real estate crash before you buy? I previously made a video on what I think is going to happen to the market within the next 12 months. I'll link a video up above and then down below. I hope you found this video helpful and you now have a better understanding of the home buying process. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next week.